This is Dr. Nancy Simmons, chairman of the Division of Vertebrate Zoology and curator in charge of mammalogy at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. And her specialty is bats, their evolution and amazing diversity. In this first episode of a three-part series for Scientific American's 60-Second Science, Dr. Simmons gives us some basics on bats. And then in part 2, she dispels a few popular myths about these flying creatures. And then, in the final episode, she unpacks and actually shows us the two oldest bat fossils known to man, over 52 million years old. Stay tuned for all 3 episodes on SciAm.com.
What got me interested in bats is their diversity. There are so many different species, so many different sizes. They do so many different things, ranging from eating insects, eating fruit, blood feeding. There are real live vampire bats that subsist on blood. And these different specializations for different lifestyles have led bats to become quite diverse morphologically. That means in terms of the anatomy of their skulls and their teeth, how big they are, how they're put together. I've always found them fascinating. They're just really cool animals. They do lots of different kinds of things, and as a scientist, almost any question you can ask about how the diversity of life has evolved, you can answer using bats as a model. Well, bats are really special among mammals for a number of reasons. The most obvious one is that they can fly, which is something that no other mammals can do. The structure of the bat wing is very different from the structure of a bird wing. Bird wing uses the bones of the forearm to support a series of feathers, so most of the wing is made of feathers. And in fact, the fingers are very reduced. Bat's wing is supported by very long finger bones. So for a bat, if you imagine my hand and arm being that of a bat's wing, grow my fingers out very long like this, and then put a skin membrane down. So it's a very elastic, soft membrane of skin that forms the bat wing, and it's supported by these long fingers and then an elongated forearm and then the upper arm. Another really unique and important feature of bats that seems to be one of the characters which made it possible for them to become so diverse and so successful is echolocation. Echolocation is using sound to sense the environment. So the animal makes a high-frequency sound in the voice box, basically using vocal cords the same way that we produce sounds when we talk, but they can make much higher frequency sounds and much more intense sounds. These are beamed out into the environment, and the animal listens to the echoes coming back, reflecting from surfaces, reflecting from prey objects, and by analyzing these returning signals in the brain, they can in essence build a map of what's around them in the environment, a constantly changing dynamic map of the world around them, but using sound instead of vision. For humans, it's very natural to think of sensing your environment by seeing it, because that's how we do it, but bats use a different sense to in essence build just as complex a picture in their minds of what's around them as we do using vision. There's 3 living vampire species and a couple of extinct species, and they belong to the same group that gave rise to the carnivorous bats and the nectar-feeding and fruit-feeding bats in the New World tropics. A meal for a vampire bat is probably a few teaspoons to a tablespoon of blood. It's not a large amount. But these are small animals. In fact, I can show you a vampire right here. This is a vampire bat from French Guiana, which I collected in sometime in the early 1990s. So they're not big animals. They take small amounts of blood. This is probably not the most attractive picture. So this is the skull of a vampire bat, and as you can see, it's very small. They have very sharp blade-like teeth in the front of the jaw, and the way that they feed is by making just little tiny sharp cuts, like paper cuts, with those front teeth, and then they lap with the tongue to get the blood from whoever's giving them a meal.